Hey everyone, this is Zach, and I'm going to follow up my network automation with Ansible backup and restore video and share with you the configuration as code process that kind of follows along and uses a similar repo. So network configuration as code is kind of an in-state ivory tower goal for a lot of teams to really have a full NetOps pipeline and be able to define your network configuration for a fleet of devices in code, which increases the stability of your network, and also decreases the introduction of human error into your system. So how does this process work? In the Audit article linked below, the source code will point you to this README. Here's a high-level process diagram of what's going to happen. So what we have here is, let's say we have a developer that goes in and modifies, the golden configuration for a particular network device or a group of network devices, using the Ansible common data model, which allows this to be vendor-agnostic. And those are stored in YAML, so I'll show an example of that in a moment. And then that developer, once they feel comfortable with the change, will open a pull request, which the team can review, make comments on, and once completed, will actually kick off a GitHub workflow. That workflow is going to launch an Ansible job template and pass along the information for devices or groups of devices that have config changes. And the playbook itself will pull down the repo, apply the configuration per resource, so like ACLs, VLANs, interfaces, LLDP, things like that. And then it will report on the changes made. So let's take a quick look at the workflow itself. So I'm going to come over to my config repo where I hold my backups and then also my golden configs. If I go into the workflow, what you can see here is it's going to be triggered on a push to master. So that is equivalent to doing a pull request and having it merged, or if you committed directly to master. And in most production settings, that's disabled, so a pull request is the only way to go. For this demo, I'll go ahead and push directly just to be concise and clear as to how it works. And then if we go to our jobs, we'll have a job to apply those configs. And what it'll do is it'll leverage the changed files in this particular git commit, and it will look in the host directory and then also in the groups directory. And it'll compile some arguments and pass them along to Ansible via this API call, where it hits the Ansible API, specifies a particular job template, and constructs the variables to be passed. And in this case, I actually separate out host and groups so that it's easier to determine, am I applying this particular config to a group of devices or a particular host? So the playbook itself will have a play that goes against groups, and then subsequently it will run a play that goes against groups or hosts if any have changed. So let's go ahead and make a change. I'm going to go into this host file here, and I'm going to search for a particular interface that I'm just going to make a minor change to. So gigabit Ethernet 2. And as you can see here, the current description is initial demo edit. So let's see, if I go to the device itself, which I've connected to on my terminal, I can see that it is in fact the description initial demo edit for gigabit Ethernet 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in here, I'm going to directly make a change to this file. So I'm going to click the edit here, go back to gigabit Ethernet 2, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say autodots config as code demo edit. And if I commit that, so in your production environment, this is where you would have the pull request process, so you couldn't commit directly to master, but I'm going to go ahead and do this really quickly. And what we'll see is if I scroll up and I come over to actions, it triggered on the fact that I pushed a commit to master. If I click here, it's starting that apply network configurations job. And as you can see, it's now going through the steps. So the first thing it does is check out that local, builds up those parameters, and then launches a job template. So now if I go over to AAP, I should actually see, and I do, it's already running this job template for applying the network configs. And if I go to details here, I can see the input. So I only changed the host config for this particular host. It's just why the host was passed in and groups was empty. So it'll just skip over the groups play. Let me go back to output here. And while this is running, effectively what you can see is it's stepping through, and even though I only changed one particular resource, which actually you can see at the bottom there as changed was interfaces, it's going to step through each resource in the configuration itself and apply them. And when it's done, I should be able to go back to the device, and if I run that same show interface, I now see that my Autodots config as code demo edit was applied. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a way to set up a true NetOps pipeline using kind of golden configurations in a Git repo, and having a workflow deploy them on change. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you.